like I felt like someone was saying, this is your only path. This is the way now.
Our biggest asset is our people, right?
Built it, re-strategized it, created it, and moved it through to what is essentially a multi-million pound business now.
How many customers actually know what a best deal is?
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Upside in the Wild. We are still on our team retreat. It's actually only been 30 minutes, but for you guys, maybe a week. And we are going to introduce to you two grand men who are going to make it two grand entrances. Leon, who's often behind screen, and James, our head of Amazon marketplaces. So here they come, big man. Yes. Yes, welcome. Hello.
Look at this.
Grand entrances for everybody.
As if I wasn't just sat behind the cameras a minute ago.
Yeah, exactly.
This is so cool, guys. This is so cool.
And cool. So, guys, this week on The Upside, we are talking about a whole bunch of things. All right. So, first of all, off the head, let's just go. Tell us about yourselves and intro yourselves. Tell the beautiful people who you are.
Leon.
I'm going first. Wow. So I'm Leon. I'm a digital marketing specialist for the team. So Amazon account manager, in other words. You've often heard my northern voice behind the camera. I also help to produce our podcast. And this is pretty much the only job I've ever had, because I got this job during uni, straight out of uni, and I've been here the whole time.
It's been great. And you've grown a whole lot of experience. And I've loved really interestingly, like the experience you have and the wisdom you've been able to kind of gain very, very rapidly in the few years you've been with us. So thank you. Also thank you for making The Upside so great.
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
You're the stars of the show.
James, that's me. Yeah. I'm James. I'm the head of marketplace. And I've been with this up since the birth. So I was there in the labour ward with this way up. whilst it was being produced.
That's colourful.
I've been part of the journey since the start, seeing the team come in, learn lots like Leon, and get to the point where we are now, which is smashing life.
And I actually think it's interesting. Between you guys, we've got about 14, 15 years of like
I know.
experience.
They don't look at it, do they?
It sounds like there's like hardly anything, but like 15 years of experience between the two of them.
They're babies still. I mean, James has been with me since
2014.
2014. How old were you?
I was 17. Yeah, literally not dropped out. That sounds terrible. I left school on purpose because I was ready for the world of work. So I actually, unlike a lot of the team, I went down the apprenticeship route, didn't I?
I really respect this, right? Okay, and I think it's a really important point. I truly, truly, truly mean this. Leon, you've got a first class honours in...
I do. In business management with placement was the full.
Absolutely. Okay. Fantastic degree. But you took a really positive decision not to go and do a degree and get loads of debt. You wanted to take a different route, right?
Sorry, Leon.
Yeah. Not to rub in there. Sorting the wounds.
I have to look at it every month and it hurts.
I literally, as I said, I was like ready for the world of work. I think the thing that really bugged me, and I know this could be controversial to some, but when I was in sixth form, like the biggest thing that they just shoved down your throat was like, you're doing this for uni. Your only choice now is uni. You're doing your A levels for uni, UCAS, etc., etc. So I think, just that conversation constantly coming up, and like I felt like someone was saying, this is your only path. This is the way now. And it just made me want to take a completely different route. So I thought, let me do some research. I didn't do digital marketing because anyone I knew was doing it. It just was something that was, unheard of really amongst me and my friends. And I got an apprenticeship with QA, fantastic apprenticeship company. It's an endorsement. And joined Zamir doing web development originally.
Yeah, that was the original bit, and then moved into the Amazon business within about 12 months of that.
Oh, yeah.
So you've been doing Amazon for over 10 years yourself.
Over 10 years, being on the seller side, so as a seller on Amazon, and learning the ropes, selling consumer electronics.
Working with suppliers, manufacturers in China.
Yeah, exactly. I had a very fortunate experience actually going to China, which was one of the best experiences of my life, genuinely. So, we went out, we met with our current manufacturers, went to their factories, drunk a lot of tea, which
I'm glad you just mentioned
delightful. Yeah, a lot of tea and no other drinks. And then we went to the trade shows. We were looking for new products. We really got stuck in, and it was great experience.
I'm interested to know. I've known your guys' story, but what I've never known is how you actually met. Was it like, did Zamir put out a job description? Because I just went to AdCom with all the big entrepreneurs, Steve Bartlett, Sarah Davies, and they always say now about the stories how they just bump into people quite naturally in any kind of scenario, and then they just go, I've got to hire you. So is that the case? Did you bump into James in like Tesco or something, getting a meal deal? And you were like, that's a good choice of meal deal. I've got to get him.
Sorry. It's an in joke with the meal deal there. But I'm going to come back to your point in a second. But do you want to answer the question about how we first met?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the process of the apprenticeship was it was really intense, to be honest. So I had to interview with QA to actually be accepted onto the apprenticeship. And then only at that point, and this was after like assessments, as I say, physical interviews. And then only at that point, they basically found me a number of companies that were looking for apprentices. And then I had to do interviews with them. So I had 3 interviews with different companies. It was actually your wife, Gail, who interviewed me. I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting Gail for the first time.
A fellow Northerner.
Yes.
Yeah. From that point, I think I just learned that it was definitely the path for me. So I was actually torn, to be honest. There was another company that I'm so glad I didn't go with them. Basically, they were effectively trying to sell what I would say is a dream. So they had the fun life, if you like. So you went into the office and there was a basketball hoop on the wall that probably hadn't been used for like 12 months. And then it was a very social environment. And I thought, this is it. People sitting on yoga balls, all that stereotypical stuff learned from Google. And then, I would say it sounded really fun, but then just speaking with Gail, like that conversation was enough to sell me. I was like, this is what I want to be doing 100%. And then that was, and I only met Zamir on my first day. So
all credit to Gail on that one. See?
Yeah.
Point I wanted to come back to was you mentioned you've just been to AdCon, right? 2025. And what was the main thing you told me that Stephen Bartlett and everyone said they're spending the majority of their time doing?
Yeah, the big hitters that were there, Stephen Bartlett, people was asking him what his day-to-day looks like now because he's running so many companies. And he said at least 60%, 70% of his time is spent on recruitment. He said he's basically become the head of HR. He still signs off on all the hires in the companies he's got majority stake of. And he just says that's the most important thing, which
being involved
makes a lot of sense, really.
Yeah, I was going to say our biggest asset is our people, right? We will say that. Fundamentally, we are absolutely hire talented people, and that's what we're all about. Really talented people. And it doesn't matter whether they've got a degree or not. We look for talent. We look beyond whatever else is there to the person. That's really what we try and dive deep into whenever we do our recruitment.
100%.
I know recruitment's a really big thing for most companies, so it's worth pointing out. But as you say, getting back to subject, 15 years in of experience on Amazon, here on this couch.
God, the royalty couch, eh? Well, I must have done extra well in my interview because I got the company wrong twice. He used the wrong this way up in both interviews, and Zamir said at the end of the interview, he was like, I don't want to worry you, but that's not us. And I was like, I'm never getting the job.
If I'm being honest, I said don't put him through, but
Lucky that wasn't what we were looking for.
Good eye for detail, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. We were looking for a good eye for detail, but you were excused on that one. Yeah. You did make the mistake twice.
Thank God. I did make the mistake twice.
Yeah. By the way, zoom in on his dreamy eyes. Sorry.
All right, John.
I'll allow it.
Okay, Mr. Dreamy Eyes. So you've been here for a couple of years. Tell us
5 years.
A couple years.
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. So tell us some of your tell us a big win. What's a big win that you're on moments you're really proud of?
Okay. I won't be humble. So I've had loads of wins at my time in the past 5 years, but probably the main one is a brand that I picked up quite early on in my journey. In fact, I was still during my 4th year of uni when I was working half and half. Because I remember a specific call I had in the library where the brand was like in a cave. It was starting to gain sales. So for a bit of context, it's a commodity-based brand. 3PL wanted to launch on Amazon, and we launched the brand completely from scratch with pretty much nothing.
And help them build the design for everything.
Build the design. Yeah. So yeah, the brand didn't exist before it went on Amazon. And I was sat in the uni library, and I was already dealing with all my uni work and all the other drinking and stuff I was doing. I didn't do the call drunk, just in case you're... Yeah, all the water I was drinking. And I was panicking because it was a few months in, sales were starting to build, but ultimately profitability was just non-existent. And obviously a lot of sellers face this, and it's a mindset you've got to have from the start that, you might not make profitability for 3 to 6 months because you've got to build that momentum in sales and organic positioning. And it got to a crunch time point where, okay, we need to start hitting break even now because, again, we've taken this brand that haven't really got much behind them. So things have got to work, and they've got to work quick. So at that point, I had to kind of re-strategize the whole situation. I remember the conversation I had with you, and I was like, is this okay? Because I was still quite new. I was like, I want to re-strategize the whole thing. Is this okay? Can I do this? And he was just like, yeah, go for it. And then now it hit the first break even pretty quickly. And that was to cover just the Amazon. And then it hit a second break even that we set, which was to cover any fees relating to us. And from that point onwards, now we're 2 or 3 years in, just over 2.5.
Yeah.
And they're now doing around 70 to 80K a month.
Yeah.
We've targeted for this year 1.2 million in sales. And that could be a lot higher, but we've had a big focus on profitability because ultimately, as the brand owner, and he'll love this if he sees it, says to me all the time is, no, sorry, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. It says it all the time.
Yeah.
And we focus on profitability. So we've done those numbers while also hitting the 15 to 20% margin net on Amazon. And now that brand's got to a point where they've gone from a nothing to an Amazon-only brand. And now they've got, because they've generated that level of profitability, they've invested into B2B operation. They're doing a B2C operation, Shopify.
Yeah. And they're expanding into retail, right? So they're going to supermarkets. They're now in supermarkets.
TK Maxx.
Yep. And they pushing Costco, Holland & Barrett, a whole bunch of other big supermarkets.
Yeah. And we've just done a bit of a rebranding. Will, who behind the camera will hate me if I call it a rebranding, repackaging, and to make things look really good.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool reflection point to see,
That's awesome. You built something out of like zero. Like it was an idea. You built it, re-strategized it, created it, and moved it through to what is essentially a multi-million pound business now.
Multiple channels
as well.
Going to physical retail.
So with that, this Prime Day is coming up.
Yep. July.
In July. So we're not far away.
Do we know the exact dates?
No, they won't. They won't release it. They keep it quiet. Yeah.
But
I knew that.
What are your what's your
but you set it up nicely, so we confirm it for everyone.
Exactly.
What's your advice for brands for Prime Day? What should they start doing now to prep?
I think there's a lot. I'll kind of kick it off with the first one, which I think is always the stock planning, right? And building the stock planning into the forecast, looking at previous Prime Days and the performance you had and the percentage uptake, and then planning that stock. And I think it actually ties in really well to the conversation we had. I can't remember whether it was last week or the week before. We did the tariffs pod. And one of the solutions now for sellers who are due to be hit with tariffs soon is, if you can, buy loads of stock and almost get ahead on stock to protect your position. So it almost is 2 decisions coming into one.
How in terms of what's the rule of thumb? So how much stock should they have? Like, what would you say? Like, what would you
generally?
Yeah.
Well, generally,
and for Prime Day, how much weeks of stock?
Generally, we always aim for 8 to 12 weeks, right? Healthy amount. You don't want to go under anything probably below 6 weeks because we know the algorithm doesn't like it and starts suppressing your organic positioning. You also don't want to go any more than, I think it's 22 weeks. And then you get storage utilization surcharges. So it's a window you've got to stay in between. When it's Prime Day, it depends on, if you've got previous data, great. If you haven't, you're probably going to have to do a bit of prediction. But look at the previous data. How much uptake have you seen? And extend that amount of stock planning. So you might go from looking at, okay, we need to be covered for 12 weeks to let's cover for 16 weeks. Or if it doubles, and we cover for 24 weeks.
So, but it's not going to do it by itself, right? So there's feelings you prep for. And I think it sounds like the next one is actually promotions.
Yeah, planning the promotions in. is a big one. Before your promotions, I want to touch on the tariffs thing, because I think it links in quite nicely. That people should, if they're making decisions on tariffs now, to consider stock. So one of the suggestions Amir made in that pod was people should buy more stock. They should bring that Prime decision in now as well. So we say, okay, if I'm buying more stock, let's consider Prime Day as well into that.
Got a question for you. Prime Day, you going to go for deals during Prime Day, or are you going to go either side of them?
It's a good question. I'd probably go after. If I was to pick, I'd go after. Ideally, I wouldn't do it at all, but I would go after. You can't. Problem is, you don't want to go in the week before. Everyone's window shopping. Amazon are hammering their marketing for Prime Day. People know it's coming, and we see it quite often. Brands will spend, and you won't convert because people are just window shopping. If you advertise in the Prime Day window, now this is where it's dependent, right? Dependent on the organic positioning, how much you dominate that specific category. Because if you're dominating the category, it's almost like you need to run promotions because your competitors are going to be doing it. And if your competitors are doing it in that window and you're not, again, they've got the edge. They're going to win conversions, and they could take over your organic positioning in that week. The reason I wouldn't do it in that Prime Day period is if you're not already dominating the organic page, because again, you're fighting against everybody else who is also promoting. So again, you're probably going to get loads of clicks because you'll get the visibility, but everybody else is doing it as well. So people will shop around, and if you're not a competitive offer, again, you're going to spend loads and you're not going to convert as much as you want. You're also harming your margin. So I'd be careful on that front. It is a good tool to get visibility, but this is why I do it possibly the week after, just because those 2 weeks are pretty clear that you do run a risk of spending a lot of money on the ads and not getting the conversions that you want. Yeah. So maybe the week after is a better shot.
Yeah. I think. What do you say, James?
So we had quite an interesting experience actually with like Black Friday and Cyber Monday weeks. So I guess I could say it, but one of our Amazon contacts effectively gave us some fairly exclusive deals, being, the best agency that works with Amazon. And those deals were a small window within the overall period. So we thought it was great because it was like, it was right in amongst, it was sort of at a tail end of Black Friday, including Black Friday. And then it just cut off on Cyber Monday. So I think it was Black Friday, the weekend, and Cyber Monday. So those 4 days. But on the flip side, what Amazon were doing in their main promotions, they were running deals the whole of Black Friday week and the whole of Cyber Monday week, which was quite interesting. It was a really extended period this time compared to what we normally see. And the issue we had was that because we were only promoting during those selected days, we actually didn't see as good of a performance as we have previously. I think because, again, it comes back to what Leon said about, it's competitive. And sometimes you want to avoid that competitive situation, but sometimes you need to actually be a part of it to kind of get the wins there. So yeah, we saw that everyone was promoting from the Monday of Black Friday week. And then by the time it comes to Black Friday and we start, I think everyone was just aware of all the promotions already happening, probably purchasing from the Monday onwards. So we kind of missed the boat on that, to be honest with you, in some cases. Yeah. Some brands did perform really well. Most of them performed well, but to improve on that, I think there might be something in running a longer period, potentially, depending on what Amazon's promotions are.
Did you notice as well? I don't know if you just skipped over this and that, and I didn't listen, but Amazon started some of the, basically everyone applies, well, most of the competitors apply for the same deals, right? It's the same Prime Day deals that you're running. Yep. Strangely enough, we started seeing random brands deals starting before everybody else.
Yes, yeah.
And it was like days before, and it was like, well, no one's actually in control of this because the dates are set. So Amazon has started some deals early. And I looked at some of the brands I was working on. One brand had no deals, one brand did. We submitted the same deals. So what happened is they got loads of conversions that first couple of days, and then everyone had enough.
Yeah, you're right. I genuinely, I think people were shopping for a small window, like even before Black Friday, and then kind of spent all their money.
Okay, so to summarize, if your strategy is based purely around profitability, I'd be careful of running in the Prime Day window, and especially, nobody should be running in the week before, but I'd be careful of running in the Prime Day window. Only do it if your margin's strong. But On the other hand, if you've got a strategy that's a bit less cautious of profitability and you're more worried about visibility and pushing the brand out there, maybe you should go for that week of Prime Day. Again, you risk spending a lot, but if that's fine for your strategy, then do it. The week after could be the best shout for both scenarios, though. Okay, so we've covered inventory planning and we've covered promotion. Is there anything else that we're missing that sellers should do before Prime Day in preparation?
So I guess the main points that sellers need to be aware of and make sure that they're ready for, of course, jumping on some deals is quite important. So there'll be a window. It's normally about a month before, and that will give sellers the opportunity to apply for the deals, make sure they lock in. Amazon will, as always, tell you what that cost is going to be and what that window is going to be. So you just jump into the promotions page in Amazon and you'll see all the opportunities there to jump on. And then the only other thing that I could think of that's important is just to make sure that you're building that sales velocity on the build up to Prime Day. Of course, you want to, all those other things that we mentioned regularly, you want to be in a good organic position. It's going to really help you. It's going to boost you.
Actually do that now even, right? Because
Yeah.
also do now so that the promotions that become available to you are the better ones and you have more options to choose from, right? So things like running coupons, maybe being a bit more aggressive with your advertising. Is this to get your sales velocity going? Because the algorithm will say, right, if this product sells, Amazon's going to make more money because they're self-interested in the whole thing. So they're going to make
want to push you. Yeah.
And then you'll do that. So get velocity now and then apply for those crawlers.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon also sends emails out, right? So you can get email from Amazon and then you can also go to the promo page and say, and see what
you see all the windows. Yeah.
In terms of stock, just one final point, what are we seeing in terms of how long does it take them to get stock in? And looking back a year, what are we expecting the lane to be in terms of getting FDA second?
Well, I think at the minute, like I said, it's you usually expect it from when you send the pallet gets picked up from your carrier or boxes. It used to be a week. Now it's looking like tiering. Sometimes it's delayed even longer. I mean, we'd usually say on all Prime days, if it's usually a week, expect 2 minimum. So if we're using the same logic, if it's usually 2 weeks, just to be safe, expect 4. That's what I'd suggest.
So we need to get the stock in by mid-June at the latest.
Yeah. I'd probably plan to be, by the start of June, you've got your plan to send in stock, and you really start sending that in from the 1st of June, and just be really ready for it. You shoot yourself in the foot if those delays come earlier. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
But also it's a fine line because don't send too much stock in. Because that's
like giving advice there
many times before. I had another point. Unless there's something else we've not covered on Prime Day deals in general. I don't know if you've seen. I assume you've seen about best deals becoming more expensive and becoming a lot more. There's a lot more factors now to even get to the best deal, and you'd agree that probably up until now, at least, the best deal's always been the strongest out of the standard deals for visibility and general conversion rate. Is best deals still the best way to go now with the amount it costs? Was it £150?
I think they're changing the pricing, but also with Amazon, what they're trying to figure out is how much revenue they're going to make on the whole thing. They're just trying to kind of increase their revenue take for each promo.
Yeah.
So your question is it worth the investment?
Is a best deal? Yeah, is a best deal still worth the investment? Because price discounts has always been in there. Amazon have changed the way it's set up in Seller Central, and personally, I now prefer to use price discounts because for a lot of brands who are not huge, £300 or whatever it is costing for a best deal, plus the margin they've got to consider, plus the advertising spend that's got to go into it, prime price discount will still give you that clear red sale price /free. You'll still get a similar level of visibility. It won't say best deal, but how many customers actually know what a best deal is? And you save them £300 off the bat just by doing a price discount.
So I think it comes back to your point about the strategy, right? Because it depends on what your overall strategy is. The numbers will tell them, right? So the numbers will tell you, if I invest this much and I anticipate selling this much, I'm giving this much promotional discount. That's going to cost me overall this much with whatever they end up charging for the promotion. versus if I do a straight price discount. And then you factor in, this is where it'll vary per brand and their strategy. It'll say, well, I care about formalized promotions, and therefore I care about the look back window. So I'm not going to go sale price and drop their price. Instead, I'm going to run a promotion. Alternatively, if that's not so important and you have more flexibility, then great. You can have the choice of two and you can contemplate.
I think you're absolutely right. The thing here is it's not as simple as it's ever been. It is far more complex now. You have to be more considered. You have to calculate this out. You cannot just jump onto the same old strategies and just apply them and think it's just going to work.
Yeah.
Because it is now getting quite tight. Like you said, the projection costs coming up. Yeah. The difference between them, you have to be very careful. The difference between making a lot of revenue and making a lot of profit. That whole sanity and vanity question.
Yeah. And still lightning deals, absolutely not off the table, right?
No lightning deals here.
No lightning deals.
Not a fan.
No. Who runs lightning deals?
Actually, it's a very valuable point, actually. Whoever does, people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
If you do, tell us your thoughts. Are you doing it by assist, intentional? Is it the other secret hack? Tell us, please.
I think we're a no, definitely. I'm a no.
Definitely a no. For one day. You're getting it for one day. And I bet the fees for that have gone up as well.
Yeah, they have now.
Any other hacks? If not, we'll wrap it there.
I think so.
Cool, guys. Well,
Don't eat yellow snow.
what?
That's another hack.
Don't eat
Yellow snow.
yeah. Don't eat yellow snow.
If we're going on those kinds of advice, we could probably be here for a while between us. I think this man's got about 100 in his locker.
Right, I asked Will this earlier, and I asked it to you. Have you enjoyed our retreat? Are you enjoying our retreat?
I'm loving the retreat. It's beautiful. I think it's nice for us because a lot of our meets from the start have always been in London, which have always been insane as they are. This is a nice change of pace. Nice from Team London.
Yeah, it's nice to have more time together. It's always, more of a rush when you're trying to fit everything into a day because people have to travel there, travel back in the same day, whereas here we can relax and have fun and spend quality time together, which is really good.
And the house is beautiful. And we're about to eat Zamir's beautiful
Cooking dinner tonight.
bolognese.
Cooking dinner for the entire team.
Cooking dinner for
Smells
13,
so good.
13 people.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Thanks, Dad. Love you, Dad.
He's fuming with that.
Love you, Dad.
Dad is not happy. Dad is not happy.
It's like
Just about get away.
no, it's a nice thing. It's a lesson. Okay, guys. Before I say anything else stupid, let's wrap it there. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. It's made us really happy.
Thank you.
And check out the recommended videos at the end of this video shown on screen. So around here. Much love. Catch you next time.
Peace. See you later, guys.
Hi team, we drop a new episode every Wednesday, so please like, follow, subscribe. They're on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from. We would really appreciate if you do this. It really helps us out. Thank you.